Hi there, my name is Lucy Donald. I'm an artist working in Buryport and Swansea. I'm going to do a workshop today based on the beautiful exhibition at Mission Gallery by Caspar White called Come Fail at Love. Okay, to start the workshop I'm just going to look at Caspar White's Instagram page, and I'm quite interested in some of the images and video footage that he's posted on there. So this particular painting is inspired by a piece of ceramics from the Metropolitan Museum in New York, and you can see his video footage is the inspiration for the painting that he produced. This image in particular is quite nice because he's also got photos on here of the exhibition at Mission Gallery, and also the porcelain religious pieces that inspired the painting, which are from the collection at the Glenvivian. One of the effects of the Caspar White show is the first thing that strikes you is the softness as you go in with the fabric, the draped fabric over some of the paintings, and also the kind of bleached out quality of the work, and also the softness of the sort of baby pink and baby blue. And it has a very kind of feminine feel to it, to me at least. It has a sort of soft, ethereal quality. And I just thought I'd have a look at some of these images with you, because I think just that use of the red and the blue, or the pink and the soft blue, reminded me very much of Picasso, particularly in his blue period, where his colours are very limited. And also this character of the harlequins and sort of actors and performers start to appear. So I think with these images Picasso is examining the idea of costume and alter ego and masks. And these are some other examples of Caspar White's paintings, which also reference these sort of harlequin diamond shapes, in the same way that Picasso used the same sort of patterning throughout his life, even having gone through the rose period and the blue period. It was still a motif that he went back to. And in this painting by Caspar White as well, you can see the sort of harlequin patterning here. I also wanted to show you this painting, which is a painting of part of a costume found in St Fagin's Museum in Wales. And again, even though it's a white dress, and this diamond pattern is actually sort of either sewn or ironed into the fabric, so it's a kind of constructed fabric texture made in the fabric, but again, by including this in the exhibition and in the body of work, it to me it sort of does reference this idea of the harlequin that appears in Caspar White's work and also Picasso's. I'm going to be using these ladro figures from Spain. They're from my mum's house, from when she and my grandmother used to collect them in the 70s and 80s. But if you don't have any ornaments like this, have a look on the internet at museum collections like Swansea Museum, the Glenvivian or the Met in New York. Or even better, if you can, visit in person and photograph or video them yourself. For this exercise we're going to be using three colour paints, red, blue and white. And we're going to be using, well, I always like to have 3 different size brushes, so I've got a very small one, which is a number 2, a middle-sized brush, which is a number 16, and a larger brush, which is a number 24. And they're all soft brushes, and they go to a point. And when I'm painting with them, I try to make sure that they haven't split, in which case it sort of separates into two and you leave a sort of double mark when you paint. So I've got good quality brushes, and I'll be handling them so that I'm controlling the thickness and the thinness of the line as I go along. So with the three paint colours, we're going to mix them to make different tints of the same colour. So that's adding white. So at the top here we've got a stronger red, which is sort of neat hue, and then I've gradually added more white to each of those two colours. And I've just practiced there. Rather than mixing the two colours together to make a purple, I'm just going to overlap the colours so that they create a sort of darker colour that way. And so a quick reminder on how to work with the paints and the brushes. I've got some water here in my pot, I've got some tissue, I've got my three brushes, and I'm just going to remind you quickly how to handle the brush. So I'm dipping my brush into the water just to moisten the bristles. I'm going to control how much moisture is on the brush just by dabbing it onto the tissue, and I'm going to start mixing the colour that I want. Okay, so when you handle the brush, do try to make sure that your brush goes to a point, and then you can control. So I'm going to try and draw a line. I've got a bit too much paint on my brush there, so it's always a good idea to sort of test your brush before you go in and make a mark. But if I press very lightly, I'm using the tip of the brush there, and then as I press down I can thicken the mark. Okay, so the way that you handle the brush, you can make you're sort of working with the shape of the brush. So I know that the tip of the brush will make a sharp mark, and as I press down it will kind of thicken the shape as I go along. Now what I haven't done there is, you can see I haven't mixed in the colour properly. So if you want a flat colour, you do need to make sure that you haven't got colour variation on your brush. So that's more of a flat colour there. And I can also, if I want to soften areas, I can over paint. So the consistency of the paint is quite important as well. So you can use paint as more of a kind of a glaze or a wash, and that's more translucent. So let's add a bit more water. So this is a little bit more fluid, and you can see it's semi-transparent in a way, so you can see what's happening underneath, and you can sort of build up layers that way as well if you want. And you can also sort of dissolve the paint with more water as well if you want a slightly different effect. So it is worth having a go with your brush and seeing what types of mark you can make by handling the brush. I always kind of shape, when I'm dabbing the water that I've picked up with the bristles, I tend to shape the brush. It's quite important to keep, it's like having a sharp pencil really. If you can have a very sharp tip on your brush, you can get a little bit more detail. This is the stage I've got to with my painting. I've been using my middle-sized brush, and of course I've got a tissue to control the amount of water that's going on my brush. And my palette, I always tend to use a scrap piece of paper, just recycle some paper. So you can see I've been mixing my blue with some white and getting my different tones, my different tints of blue by sort of mixing as I go along. So I've used for the size that I'm working, I've used quite a broad brush really, just to mark in the shapes of the shadow. and rather than going for outlines, you know, to draw the edge of the hair, I've squinted my eyes and looked for kind of blocks of shadow that help you sort of describe the 3D form, and also the way that the light falls on it. So I've either left areas of white of the paper, or I've added white, a lighter blue. So hopefully it's starting to read like that. So mainly on the face, that's the paper showing through, and on this part of the body I've used quite a lot of white paint mixed in with the blue. So now I'm going to start to work with the red on top. So what I've been doing here is, with my same brush, I've been filling in the areas of red, and I've used a very dark red on top of a very dark blue to make the areas that I felt were the darkest shadows. So you can see where the headscarf touches the face and the hair. I've put in a darker shadow where the arm touches the dress and the frill, and this shadow inside the arms with the puppy dog. So you can see it's kind of added some depth. And then I've really enjoyed painting these sort of gloopy areas of light, you know, that sort of liquidy light that falls on the glaze, and it sort of softens the shapes. So I'm just building up now. I'm going to start refining some of the bits and pieces, and I'm going to go in with a dark blue and a tiny brush and just sort of fill in, correct some of the features that I've made a mess of. So I'm going to start on my my swan goose next, and I'll show you that one. I'll be using exactly the same kind of process, and I'll show you it when I'm finished. And so here is my blue stage. So here is my finished swan, my finished porcelain figure, and my colour tints. I hope you have a go, and I hope you enjoy it, and enjoy your painting.